We are live. We are live. Hey, friends. Good to see you.
It's awesome to be here. I love it. This is so fun. I can't believe we get to do this. And, we have big plans for this, but I'm not saying anything else.
Yes, we're not giving anything away.
No.
All right. So let's jump right in because I feel like we're going to have a full 30 minutes and we always want to honor our time.
Yes.
So we'll start out always like we do, or like we typically do, which is what's our goal? So why are we even here? And so ultimately, we are bringing people with different backgrounds and unique experiences together to build bridges that connect all the minds. So for those of you that are new with us today, Christine is a life coach for women, and myself, I'm Colleen. I'm a fractional chief wellbeing officer to small businesses. And united, the two of us offer different perspectives on wellness, culture, and life fulfillment, both at work and in our personal lives. And on the show, basically, we are here to share necessary and sensitive stories that evolve around topics such, again, wellness, culture, fulfillment at work, and invite you to open your mind to connect with all the minds. So over to you, Teen.
Heck yeah, I love it. I love it. So thank you all for joining us today. It's awesome to see y'all. And please, as we have encouraged so far in our messages talking about today's show, let us know what you went through in 2023. Let us know if it was rough, if it was easy, if you learned something, if you're struggling with it. It's so important for you to feel like you're in a great space here because we get it. Okay. If you think you're alone, you're not. So just to kind of encourage you to share with us your thoughts and what you've been through. So let's get into a little information about today's show. So what's in a year? Holy heck, honestly, if we're talking about 2023, which we are so much, this past year seemed to be a celebratory year for some when it was devastatingly heartbreaking for others. And speaking from my co-host and I, Colleen, hope you don't mind, it was epically transforming, awakening, and honestly also full of grief. We're stripping it down today, and we're going raw and sharing the moments that may have brought us to our knees in unexpected joy. You might not have thought I was going to say that, as well as face in your hands in despair. The truth of whether what we're talking about is our personal lives or workplace life, our feelings always originate in the same place, and that's within ourselves and in our hearts. So before we jump into our long-awaited conversation, because it's going to be a juicy one today, we always start with our icebreaker. And today's question is, Colleen, you ready?
I'm ready.
What are you currently streaming on Netflix? We all want to know.
I mean, it's such a fun conversation to have. Like that could literally take over the entire show. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm going to tell you that this show that I'm watching, I cannot get my life back. So I cannot wait for it to be over because I feel like I have to finish it. So I don't know if you watched Money Heist on Netflix.
No.
Oh my gosh, it's really a good show. It's about a group of people that robbed the Bank of Spain, but it went on for about 4 seasons, and it was really good. All that to say, they did a prequel to one of the characters, and it is so bad. The prequel is called Berlin, so they all have they all have names that are cities. Anyways, it is so bad. I literally say to Scott, that's my husband, for those of you that are tuning in for the first time, his name is Scott. I literally say to Scott when he asks me, do you want to watch Berlin? I'm like, no. But we have to finish
it. You're staying committed. You're not letting go of it.
Thankfully, it's only 8 episodes, so that's good. Okay, what about you? What are you streaming?
Oh my gosh. So we just finished The Crown. And have you watched any of it?
No, but I've heard great things. I haven't.
It is so good. For some reason in the beginning, years ago when it started, I resisted. I don't know why. I can't tell you why. That was the old Christine, by the way. But it is so good. First of all, the acting is class A. They bring in amazing actors. And it's just a really, really great series. Now, you have to take it with a grain of salt because who knows what's true and isn't true, right? We can't believe everything we see on Netflix or read on Google, but it's just really excellent. And I'm so sad it's done. I mean, it's over, like kaput, it's finished. Yeah. There's no more coming. And I'm like, well, now what? Now I have to scroll through and search Netflix where there's 8,000 things to watch and that none of them I probably am interested in.
Which is why these conversations are so important. So someone can tell you so that you don't have to search through 8,000 shows.
That's right. That's right. So who knows, folks, let us know your favorite show. Maybe there's something we haven't watched that you think is a not miss. So please let us know.
Except don't watch Berlin.
Don't watch Berlin. All right. Well, Colleen, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So here we are getting into the nitty-gritty of what we learned last year. What was really, really important to our lives. So here's a question for you. If you had to choose 3 words, only 3, that encompass your most impactful learnings in 2023, what would they be, and then why?
Yeah. And so I'm going to jump into my answer, but I don't want to dismiss. I love what Susie wrote in our comments over here. She said, rough year for me in 2023, but still lots of great things came out of it. Because I think that's a great way to tee up how I would answer the question. And so for me, the 3 words that I would choose are loss, and that really is grief. But I'm going to use loss, even though I want to change the way we're talking about grief. So I'll get into that one. So loss, discomfort, and trust.
All right.
And so,
can I just tell you real quick? I feel that in my gut right now, like something just dropped. So keep going.
Okay. So as far as loss, which again really is grief. So I think I kind of teed this up just a few seconds ago. I think that we have to change the way that we're talking about grief. I think that we have a tendency to put it to death. But when I reflect on it, on last year, I made a big jump for myself. I walked away from a job that I was at for 10 and a half years. And if you pause and just think about 10 and a half years with a place that has pretty low turnover, that means that you are going through marriages, you're traveling together, divorces, children being born, mental health crises. It's a decade, right? And it's not just your life, it's other people's lives. So I want to preface and say that. The other thing is I thought that I would be with this company until I retired. I really thought that I found my home there. And so when I decided it was time for me to leave, now, mind you, it was not a overnight decision. It was a decision that I worked on for about 2.5 years before I made the decision. I didn't realize that after I resigned, after I then started to notify my colleagues, I didn't expect tears. I didn't expect sadness. And I had to really take a step back and realize I am grieving this loss of what I thought could have been there for me. And then again, just this loss of these relationships, people that, I spent a lot of time with. So that's the first one. As far as then the discomfort and trust, because I feel like these two somewhat go hand in hand. So discomfort. So I have always had a job. If you follow me on LinkedIn, I think one of my fun facts I shared that I started working when I was 13 years old. I've never not worked. I've always worked. And so making that decision to take a risk and to leave what was safe was really uncomfortable. Even though I took 2.5 years to work through it, I was so sick to my stomach when I actually went forward and put in my resignation. The other thing that I'll share about the discomfort is that because I've always worked, that equals a money, that equals a paycheck, right? And I do want to preface and say I have a wonderful partner. We see each other as equals. We are there to support each other. But the thought of, and this is a Colleen thought, it doesn't mean it was the reality because Scott has never given me a reason to think this. The thought of me having to rely on a man for money made me sick to my stomach as well. So that's the discomfort, which then propels me into trust. I had to trust. One, I spent 2.5 years working and growing and realizing I've outgrown. It's time for me to walk away. I was losing myself. I was losing who I was as a person. And so in order for me to get back to and or who I have become, I needed to walk away. So that was me having to lean into the trust of that decision, even though I felt really good about it and I did not look back. And then I had to lean into the trust that I'm not relying on my husband, right, for money. I am a thoughtful human. I obviously worked through this process of, can I take this leap, which meant I had some savings, like all these things. So I had to trust, again, that it was all going to be okay. And my relationship wasn't going to change in a second, that my husband wasn't going to expect me to turn into a woman from 1950. And not that there's anything wrong with that if that's your style, right?
I feel like we're talking about a scene from Seinfeld right now. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Which, love Seinfeld. So anyway, so all that to say, like, those, just to kind of back out to back in, or however that phrase should go, is those are the three words: loss, really grief, discomfort, and trust.
Yeah. Oh my
So
gosh.
I'll pause there. Any reactions? And then of course I have the same question to you.
Well, so listeners, I just want to let you know that, of course, Colleen and I plan for this show and we create what we plan to talk about, but we don't know how each other is going to answer. So I don't know and didn't know what Colleen's three words were, and I don't know her answer to the rest of the show. But grief was also one of my words. And I have a feeling that our listeners that are tuning in with us live now and listening in to the recording are probably saying, I feel that too. So, and you know me, I have goosebumps now because, gosh, I'm like getting a little choked up, because we all went through something really big last year. I don't know what it was, but grief was definitely one of them. So that was my first word. Triumphant is my second word, and persistent is my third word. So a lot of the things that I want to say are very similar to what you said about grief, Colleen, which again is, making me emotional. But on one side of the coin for grief, I had to accept that I would no longer be the woman that I thought I was. So for decades, I was, basically just walking this walk of who I thought I was, and letting go of her after 5 decades was really difficult to do. It was the right thing to do, but it was really difficult. And then on the second side, I also was accepting that some of the relationships in my life would not continue forward with me because they didn't want to walk with me for whatever reason they chose. It's okay. So really, I didn't choose to push them out. They kind of did by saying, I don't want to walk with you anymore. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's painful. So kind of like you did, I want to get into grief a little bit because, as you mentioned, we tend to associate grief with loss, passing on, death. But grief shows up for us in so many other forms, such as accepting, healing, and finding strategies to continue on in life, even if we don't heal. So there is this, fake mirage that, don't worry, time will heal your wound, time will heal your pain. And I don't believe that. I think we just learn how to cope with it. We just learn how to take that pain, that loss, and wrap it up into how we get up every day and develop relationships. So, without disclosing, just an example, right? So I don't want to disclose the specifics about an event that I experienced, but I remember an occasion, I remember like it was yesterday, although it was years ago, that I experienced high emotion. And honestly, I was just sobbing. It just hit and I was sobbing. And it was all due to having to let go of an expectation that I knew would never be fulfilled. It's like huge, right? When you really face something, but you're continuing with it in one form or another, to let go of that is so paramount in your life and moving forward. And I remember thinking at that time, like my life was over. And that's such a dramatic thing to say, but grief hits hard and it truly threatens the fabric of the comfortability and safety that we've built within our protective walls, right? I mean, it's really huge. So it's really what makes facing grief, understanding it and realizing it. It's something that's always a part of you and a powerful mindset shift. There's extreme power in that kind of acceptance. So I know I talked a lot about grief, but given that you talked about it as well, I just wanted to dig into it. So my second word is triumphant. So without any fear or hesitation, I really did. I completely transformed my life. I started my business. I established my brand. I embraced and celebrated my personal value and the strength in my voice. And I lived outside of my comfort zone all of 2023, all of it, every single last day. And it was really upon facing my grief that I was able to embrace triumph. I mean, if you can't let go of your grief and you're holding on to all those things, you can't celebrate overcoming it. You can't celebrate knowing what it is. And 2023 by far was the year that brought me a level of personal growth that no amount of money can place value on. Nothing. And I know we just kind of talked about that. It's like, it's likely that you either experience revenue growth or personal growth. And last year, personal growth by far was it for me.
I love that you brought that in. I just want to say that really quick.
Yeah. We just talked about this, y'all, right before the show.
I love that you brought that in. Sorry, keep going.
So fitting. And then moving on to persistence. I have a friend, she's not on the show today. She's not tuning in, but I know she's going to listen to the recording, and she knows who she is. She likes the word failure, right? She likes it because she learns from it. Personally, last year, I chose to remove that word from any dictionary that I read, from my vocabulary, and dare I say it, encyclopedias. Because I'm replacing failure with persistence. More like specifically persistence to edit, reevaluate, like recalibrate. Let's see if I can get my tongue to work. Whatever it might be, in staying persistent, I accepted the power in believing in myself, focusing on my mission, and applying passion is my strongest value in being a coach. I mean, it's massive. It was just a giant year. I don't know what to say.
So I want to pause for a second because first and foremost, I love that you shared that we know what the questions are, but we don't know what our answers are going to be. Because as I'm sitting here thinking, like, just react, like having like my internal reaction to what you're saying, I feel like we have so much alignment. And I think that there's, at the end of the day, if we pause and reflect and hear other stories, I think there's a lot of similarities, right? Like that's kind of what brings humans together. But if I could go back a little bit and talk about, like, when I think about the alignment piece, for me, it all stems back to that grief. One of the things that I really had to, because it doesn't go away, it just feels different, right? We grow through it. We are triumphant through it, right? I had to decide how am I going to navigate the relationships that I didn't want to lose from the job that I left, because again, they were friends, but they were coworkers. But when you get together with them, it brings the past, and I was trying to go forward. And so when you were talking about the relationships and the change there and some of the sadness that continued to come, I had to realize I don't want to break up with these individuals, but I have to make it look different going forward for me. Yeah. So anyways, I just wanted to share that was just really coming up for me as you were talking about your three words: relationship, the grief, the triumph. All of those are wins, right?
Yeah, they really are. Like they felt at the time sad, but you end up realizing that those things that you grieve over for some reason, especially in transformation, they really weren't meant to be there to lift you in the first place. There was something missing that you just couldn't see through, but that's okay. It's just natural. This is life. Everybody deals with it. So we are not unique. But let's get on to this next question, because I think it's really important. So Colleen, now that we've just covered all that heaviness, and folks, please keep telling us, how your year went. We're here for you. What are you, Colleen, finding to be most important as you navigate relationships and your business in 2024?
So I just wrote down a couple of notes for myself to springboard my mind to respond to this. And the first thing that I'm looking at is I wrote down, I've had enough time to feel the emotions. And I think that's okay, right? Like the whole point is feel the emotion, recognize it, and then it's time to go, right? And so I'm using, again, last year, I'm really diving into definitely the trust and the discomfort piece. And so the discomfort, okay, now where am I going forward? Now that I have felt that, where am I going forward? There's a part of me that still knows that I am not speaking my full truth of where I'm going from a business standpoint. Mm-hmm. And basically what that means for me is I have spoken my quote unquote truth on other podcasts, but I'm still afraid to write it down and share it with the world by way of LinkedIn, if you will.
Huh.
Yeah. And a lot of that is, so I talk a lot about culture, right? And when people think of culture, they 9 times out of 10 immediately go to HR. And I don't feel that that's the right group to be overseeing the culture work, which is why I've put myself out there as a fractional. And so my fear, my discomfort is that I'm going to hurt someone's feelings. They're going to think I'm coming at them, and I'm not. I want HR to be a partner, but I think that there's some challenges that are sitting inside an HR department that we have to kind of own up to, that can really like take the culture work backwards, if you will. So that's one, as far as like what am I finding to be most important as I move forward, is I've got to now take that feeling of discomfort and lean into it to get out of it.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I would say is these silent whispers. And so I have my vision board for 2023 in front of me because I wanted to make sure that I could really see the words that I wrote down. And
so 2023 or 2024?
So it was 2023's vision board.
Okay.
And so again, as I'm kind of going through last year and realizing, okay, there was a whole silent whisper that was happening that I don't necessarily have it up there, but it's there, if you will. Mm-hmm. So I bleed blue collar, come from Cleveland, Ohio, grew up in a construction owned family, like construction run business family. My husband runs a construction business, and that's a silent whisper that I've always kind of put aside. But when I look at my 2023 vision board and I have impact, I have speak your truth, I have use your voice. Those things are things that I want to try to use to propel and to bring better workplaces, specifically for the blue collar workforce. And so again, to me, it's like there's these silent whispers that I am ready to pull them out and just, again, speak the truth and trust that it's going to take me where I need to go for 2024.
Yeah.
What about you?
It definitely will. And, I think this is another reason I love doing this show with you. I mean, first of all, it just happened so organically. I mean, it was ridiculous how it almost just fell into our lap just out of conversation.
Yeah.
But I love that this also provides a platform for you to speak your truth, right? This is where you can be yourself and educate and let others know you stand with them and you get it and you will help them. So that's another reason I love what we do here. But so in answering the question for myself and, how I plan to navigate, I'm going to go back to grief a little bit because I believe in the positivity of the lessons that we learn in the grief that we feel, and then how we incorporate strategies to battle through it day after day. In coming to the reality of what my grief was and truly had been for a while, I became stronger, wiser, and I would say more empathetic in my messaging and how I work with my clients. And that means the world to me. Being able to be that listener to, my clients is huge, because as a coach, it's vital to listen and listen hard to what my clients are saying, because honestly, on most occasions, what they're saying isn't the truth in what's inviting their behavior. They think it is, but if I don't listen carefully to catch them, then I'm not going to help them find their root, and I'm not going to be able to give them the tools to move forward and move past whatever it is that they're struggling with. So in focusing on grief and how we mask it, it motivated me just this month to develop my masterclass series for the entire year. I mean, this is something I've learned about myself. I just get an idea and I roll with it because I know it's important. So, we go about our days, and I've talked about this. We go about our days on autopilot without being conscious of 95% of our thoughts and beliefs. I mean, that still blows my mind every time I say it. And I truly believe that people do not want to live like this. They don't. At the realization that they're only 5% aware of what they're doing and what they're saying, they're like, oh my gosh, I want to stop that. So for only 30 minutes a month, women will have access to a free online class, my master class, that will provide the tools that they can apply to their life journey. I mean, women are tired of feeling less than, right? Not being taken seriously, not being heard, feeling lost in the life they thought they used to know, or not having the confidence to take them to the life that they really want. And grief has been a part of the female culture for decades, Colleen.
Yep.
And that's all due to what hasn't been available for us and what isn't accessible to us. 2023 changed that. I firmly believe it. And 2024 is in a trajectory to show women that they themselves are the greatest project they'll ever work on. And so what do you do when you're working on the greatest project ever that you will have in your life? You invest time in it, right? You make it a priority. You persist. There's the word, persist. I mean, okay, I'm not going to lie. I'm inspiring myself right now, so I better calm down.
This is amazing, and I can't wait to do the masterclass.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it will be free. It's all year. It's once a month. And you know what? It's just important for me to offer this value because there's a lot of people, a lot of women out there who just don't think that they think they have to settle, and they don't. And if for 30 minutes a month, they can be shown how not to settle, I was going to say sign me up, but I'm the one who developed it.
I'm so excited about it. I love it. And I love that you want to make sure that maybe some that think they can't have access because of financial burden and things like that can have access. So I really appreciate that you're doing that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So important. So should we
let's wind down? Yeah, let's wind down and lift it up for 2 weeks from now.
Oh my gosh. So you guys, this is really exciting to us. And we try to have our shows where the next show is, almost feeds off of the show before it. And so we talked a lot about what we learned in 2023 and how we want to instill it in 2024. And it got us talking about the power, the magic that happened on LinkedIn last year. I know you felt it. Oh my God, here come the goosebumps again. This is so ridiculous. I know you felt it because I've probably talked to you and we've talked about it. So our next show that goes live, episode 6 on January 25th, we'll ask, are you feeling the magic of bridge building LinkedIn offered in 2023? And we're going to mix things up a little bit with this episode. And we have 2 amazing guests that are going to join us. And they're going to share in their conversation about the magic that happened to them on LinkedIn last year. And honestly, we're so excited. There's so much to talk about. 30 minutes, no way is enough time. So it's going to be powerful, but I have a feeling you agree. So tune in, and at that time also share with us what magic you experienced, right? Like, Colleen, this is when you and I met. I mean, somebody sprinkled magic dust on both of us that day, and forget about it.
Yeah, I know. I'm super excited for 2 weeks from now. And yeah, it's just, I had no idea the power of this platform. And so it means a lot to me, and I can't wait for our guests as well.
I know. And we're not going to tell you who they are yet. We know who they are, but we're going to wait. So when we make our announcement, Colleen will make our announcement next week. So yeah, tune in. We're so excited to have them there. 2 phenomenal women. But listeners, thank you so much for tuning in today. We appreciate you. If you're catching the recorded version, we're equally as appreciative. Let's conquer 24. Colleen, are you ready?
Girl, I am so ready. I can't even tell you.
Okay. Girl, I love that you just said that.
Have a great rest of your week and weekend, and we'll see y'all soon.
Yes. Bye, everybody.
Bye.